trade deal ensures that the pathway to trade is smooth, ensures preferential access.
It's been 1 week since India and the US struck a trade deal, a much-hyped, much-awaited deal. The markets cheered, investors gave a thumbs up, and exporters breathed a sigh of relief. Yet the details remained shrouded in mystery. Then slowly it began to trickle in. Late on Friday, in fact, the first official document was released, a joint US-India statement on the deal. Then India's Commerce Minister went on a media blitz. He's speaking to multiple television and print outlets, all in a bid to calm the nerves. The question is, has he succeeded? Let's look at the joint statement first. It has 4 main parts. The first one covers the tariff rate. President Donald Trump will cut tariffs from 50% to 18%. And this will happen in stages. In a few days, Trump will cut the tariffs on labor-intensive goods like textiles, footwear, plastics, and machinery. This will kick in within days. The rest of the relief will come after the deal is signed. And when is that? The reports say sometime in mid-March. After the deal is signed, Trump will slash tariffs on the remaining goods, like your generic drugs, gems, diamonds, and plain parts. So that's the first part of the deal, the tariff cut. Secondly, India will expand market access to US goods. How will they do that? Let me quote from the statement. India will eliminate or reduce tariffs on all US industrial goods and a wide range of US food and agricultural products, including dried distillers, grains, red sorghum for animal feed, tree nuts, fresh and processed fruit, soybean oil, wine and spirits, and additional products. Let me underline some of those words. Eliminate or reduce tariffs, that too on farm products. This could be controversial, and we'll tell you why in a bit. But for now, let's look at the third part of the deal. Trump will also remove the tariffs on steel, aluminium, and copper parts. And this is very significant because these tariffs are different from the rest. Trump's retaliatory tariffs are being litigated right now. The US Supreme Court is hearing the matter. It may or may not strike these tariffs down, the US Supreme Court. But the metal tariffs are not in court. They were imposed with due legal process, which is why this relief is quite significant. And now for the final part. India is looking to buy US goods worth $500 billion. This purchase will be spread across 5 years. It will include energy, aircraft, precious metals, and coking coal. These are the 4 main aspects of the joint statement, and on cue, the questions began. Tonight, we'll focus on the 3 big ones, the 3 big questions. Number 1, have we compromised too much on agriculture? Has India compromised on agriculture? Several farmers' bodies say, yes, we have. They're calling this deal a total surrender of Indian agriculture. They're also planning a general strike on the 12th of February. So expect the political battle to rage on. You see, historically, India has protected farmers from imports. India has protected its farmers. And even this deal sets some red lines, like no genetically modified crops, no food grains, no maize, no spices, no vegetables. We'll not buy this from the US. The Commerce Minister says farmers have been safeguarded 100%.
On agriculture, you'll be happy to know all of India's sensitivities and the interests of farmers and producers have been safeguarded 100%.
Okay.
I have absolutely no hesitation in sharing with you that amongst other things, we have not opened or given any concession to meat, to poultry, to any kind of GM foods or their products, any soya meal, corn, maize, makkah, cereals like rice and wheat, or millets like jawar, bajra, ragi, kodo, or amaranth, amongst others.
And still questions remain. For some goods, the tariff cuts won't have an impact. For example, dry fruits. India is not a huge dry fruit producer anyway, so the concession will not matter. But soybean and animal feed will be controversial. You see, India has around 4 million soybean farmers. Their revenue may be hit by cheaper US imports. Same with animal feed. Red sorghum is one of the most important cereals in India. It is grown across 8 million hectares of land. So once again, millions of farmers will be watching this closely. Unchecked import of US animal feed may affect them. Now to the second question. Will India stop buying Russian oil? On this issue, there is still no clarity. The Commerce Minister said, ask the Foreign Ministry.
I don't deal with that subject. You'll probably have to direct your question to the Foreign Office. If there's a nuance or a detail about the trade deal, obviously if you ask, let's say, the Agriculture Minister, or you ask the Rural Development Minister, or you ask the Telecom Minister, or you ask the Foreign Minister, he wouldn't know the nuances of the trade deal. Obviously, he will direct it to me, just as I will direct the issues related to geopolitics to the Foreign Minister.
And what is the Foreign Ministry saying? Well, today the Foreign Secretary briefed the media. He said India is focused on diverse and reliable supplies.
Key drivers of our energy policy. We are neither dependent on any single source and diversify them as appropriate to ensure stability.
Meanwhile, Russia is confident that the trade will continue. Their envoy in India says Russia remains New Delhi's top oil supplier. So no clarity there, which brings us to the final question. How will India purchase $500 billion of US goods? The Commerce Minister says it's a plausible number. He says India will buy planes, energy and advanced chips. At the same time, he said something very important. He said this promise is not binding, meaning India has not committed to this purchase.
We intend to
so the engines
procure certain equipment. No, I've talked about aircraft engines and aircraft parts. We don't have to buy them. Again, repeating. Now let me explain to you. No, there's no such limitation. We estimate that the requirements that we have for import of certain items where the United States has the ability to sell to us. Things like crude oil, LNG, LPG, airplanes, their engines, their spare parts, coking coal. In the next 5 years, we estimate we will need $2 trillion of these products, where America has very good capabilities and capacity to support the Indian economy with high quality at competitive prices. So we hope they will offer us very competitive prices.
This is not unprecedented. It's a consistent feature of Trump's deals. Consider his trade deal with China in 2020. Beijing promised to buy $200 billion of extra US goods. Guess how much did they actually buy? How much did they buy? Nothing. Because these are still handshake agreements. You can release a joint statement, you can sign a bilateral document, but at home there is nothing enforcing it. I'll give you a hypothetical scenario. India intends to buy US energy and aircraft, but these products have other sources too. Say Saudi Arabia offers to sell us cheaper energy, or maybe Qatar or the UAE. Why would India still buy the more expensive American energy? Same with aircraft. Say the Europeans offer a better deal on Airbus planes. Why would Indian carriers buy the more expensive Boeing planes? The answer is they wouldn't. And that is why this flexibility is important. Yes, India intends to buy $500 billion worth of goods, but it's not a binding promise as of now. I'm sure this deal will be dissected even more in the coming days, especially once the agreement is signed. Our takeaway? Don't stop at this deal. Use it as a launchpad for a comprehensive agreement, one that will cover investments, one that will cover immigration and work visas, one that will cover India's market access, and one that will have congressional approval in the US. If not, you're relying on Trump's integrity and faithfulness, and these are two things he's not famous for. Our next story is about the India-Canada reset. After years of bilateral tension under Justin Trudeau, the relationship has taken a decisive turn under Mark Carney. And something remarkable happened over the weekend. A series of meetings were held in Ottawa. India's National Security Advisor Ajit Doval was present. He met his Canadian counterpart, Nathalie Drouin. They discussed security, law enforcement, and shared threats. And the outcome was a plan to expand cooperation on national security and law enforcement. In other words, India and Canada will work together. They will share information and they will coordinate on security issues. Both countries will appoint liaison officers, think of them as dedicated points of contact. The idea is to cut bureaucracy and speed up communication. And to begin with, both sides want to address two key issues. Number one, the illegal flow of drugs, and number two, the transnational organized criminal networks. And this agreement is a big deal. Until recently, it would have been hard to imagine. Just rewind to 2023, India's relationship with Canada was in ruins. And this was thanks to the then Prime Minister, the then Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. It began with a baseless charge. Trudeau stood up in the Canadian Parliament and accused India of murder on Canadian soil. The man killed was Hardeep Singh Nijjar. He was a Khalistani. India had designated him as a terrorist. Nijjar was shot dead by criminals in Canada, but Prime Minister Trudeau blamed India for it. And he did so without presenting any evidence. India, of course, rejected the charge. It called the allegations absurd, baseless, and politically motivated. What followed was a full-blown diplomatic crisis. Diplomats were expelled, high commissioners were recalled, visas were blocked, and ties hit rock bottom. For more than 2 years, the relationship was in deep freeze. Then there was a change of guard in Ottawa. Mark Carney became Canada's Prime Minister, and this marked the beginning of a thaw. Over the past few months, a diplomatic reset has taken shape. Last year, Carney met Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi on the sidelines of the G7 summit. This opened doors for further engagement. And since then, both sides have been taking careful and calculated steps. First, the High Commissioners were reinstated. Then top officials began making visits. Last year, Canadian Foreign Minister Anita Anand came to India, and a few weeks back, their Energy Minister paid a visit. His name is Tim Hodgson. And then last weekend, India's National Security Advisor Ajit Doval was in Canada. All of this is building up to a high-profile visit. Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney is expected to be in India next month, and this will be a crucial trip. Several big-ticket deals are on the agenda. One of them is a $3 billion deal to buy uranium from Canada. Canada and India are also expected to resume free trade talks. Besides that, there could be more cooperation on energy and critical minerals. Canada is making aggressive moves on this front. It is offering supplies of oil, gas, and critical minerals to India. And Ottawa's pitch is quite simple here. India is one of the world's fastest growing major economies. India needs energy, and these needs are skyrocketing. So diversifying supplies makes sense for India. Also, beyond oil, Canada has huge reserves of rare earths like lithium, cobalt, and nickel. And India is looking to secure stable supplies. It does not want to depend only on China. And then you have Canada. Canada wants to expand its exports. So this is a natural fit. It's a win-win for both India and Canada. Having said that, New Delhi must exercise caution. The Khalistan controversy may be out of the headlines, but it's not over. India will need real assurances from Canada. It has pushed for action against extremist elements and the pro-Khalistan groups that operate in Canada. This is a clear red line for New Delhi. These separatist groups pose a national security threat to India, and New Delhi wants Canada to crack down on them, not just talk about it. It should be a prerequisite if they're serious about this relationship.
This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
From Kerala this time, Samastha, a prominent Muslim scholarly body, has now passed a resolution asking for vigilance against pan-Islamist extremist ideologies and organizations following Maoist ideology. These are organizations like the Jamaat-e-Islami. This comes even as opposition leader V.D. Satishan said that the Congress-led UDF will accept the support of Jamaat-e-Islami for upcoming assembly elections. Satishan had said that they do not now have a stand of forming any Islamic republic. But remember, the Congress party has been facing flack as far as being soft on organizations like the Jamaat-e-Islami is concerned, but also either, if not actively, then passively seeking and taking support of organizations like the Jamaat-e-Islami. So you've got another Muslim body in the state now opposing bodies like the Jamaat-e-Islami. They feel Islamist and extremist ideologies. They feel these are pan-Islamist, extremist, ideology-based organizations. So what's really going on? Is there a battle going on between various forms of Muslim thinking in Kerala? How will that shape the upcoming elections is a big question. Let's go across to my colleague Neetu first up. Neetu, what is this body exactly and why are they raising objections to Jamaat-e-Islami? Why do they consider them extremist, for example?
Now, see, Samasta is a Muslim scholarly body. Samasta Jamiyat Ulama is what they are known as. It's a Muslim scholarly body. It's mostly the Sunni faction, and they are politically they are seen more closer to the Indian Union Muslim League, at least one faction of this. So they have been against the Jamaat-e-Islami and their thoughts, and in this resolution also clearly stating, though they are not taking the name of Jamaat-e-Islami, they are clearly saying Maududist ideologies, which means the Jamaat-e-Islami, and clearly stating that certain factions are trying to create this extremist ideology, trying to take the Muslim youth from the mainstream and put into this extreme ideology. So this is something that cannot be accepted. And politically, how it's important is that it comes within days after leader of opposition of Kerala, V.D. Satishan, said that Jamaat-e-Islami's Amir has clearly said that they no longer stand for their demand of having an Islamist nation in a pluralistic society like India and Kerala. So that is, they will accept the support of Jamaat-e-Islami in this elections also if they offer, because this is what their stand is. So this resolution by the Samasta coming in a few days after that, definitely putting the UDF as well as the Congress in the defensive, because Indian Union Muslim League is an ally of the UDF. And when asked this question to P.K. Kunyalikuti on Samasta's resolution, Kunyalikuti clearly not giving a direct answer, but saying that these are different ideologies and both the sections have been talking about their ideologies. So that is something which the Samasta has done, and he goes on to attack the LDF, saying that earlier you all had taken support from Jamaat-e-Islami and you cannot attack the UDF on that. So this is where politically it stands, and ahead of elections all this becomes important, because be it the Samasta or the Jamaat-e-Islami or the other factions, they will all have a say at least in the run-up to the elections when the campaigns are being run, because they can direct the way in which the issues are being discussed ahead of the elections.
So will this push the UDF, the Congress-led UDF, into some sort of a rethink, Neetu?
See, all these factions are important, whether it's Samasta or the other factions. As we have said, a faction of that clearly supports the Indian Union Muslim League. So for them, it becomes difficult to openly say, but at the same time, the stand that the Congress and the UDF will take is that we are accepting anyone's support. We are not in any kind of alliance with the Jamaat-e-Islami or anything, but ahead of last elections, they had offered their support for the Congress and the UDF, and if that is what they are offering this time also, we will be accepting. But talks in these lines will be more ahead of the election, Shivani, because definitely there will be questions asked to the Congress and the UDF, and how will they be explaining to this to the larger public and all.
It was a busy Sunday in Tokyo. Snow on the streets, long queues outside polling booths and voters turning out in large numbers for a snap election. An election called suddenly by Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi. And by nightfall, one thing was clear. This was no ordinary vote. Because the next morning, Tokyo woke up to a political earthquake. Takaichi had pulled off the unthinkable. She delivered one of the most decisive election victories that Japan has seen in decades. World leaders have congratulated her on the win, including Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi. So why did Japan suddenly go to the polls? How did Takaichi win so big? And what does this sweeping victory mean for Japan and the world? We'll start with the results. Sanae Takaichi belongs to the LDP, that's the Liberal Democratic Party. They won 316 out of a total of 365 seats. They won 316 seats out of a total of, 465 seats. Now, this is in the lower house of the Japanese parliament. 316 seats for Takaichi's party, and the coalition has a grand total of 352 seats. So 352 out of 465, that is a super majority. And that kind of number means only one thing. Sanae Takaichi can pass laws, she can override the opposition, she can control committees, and she can reshape policy almost at will. Takaichi calls the shots, and she has earned this power. Let's rewind and turn 8 months back. The same party, the LDP, was staring at a political collapse. There were corruption scandals, public anger over inflation, and political instability. Japan had seen 4 prime ministers in 5 years. Voters were disenchanted, and trust was running thin. It was in this backdrop that Takaichi took office. She became prime minister just 4 months ago, and she inherited a party on life support. What's worse, she did not have the numbers. She did not have a majority in parliament, and that means that she could not do anything without encountering opposition. So Takaichi had 2 options: play safe and bide her time, or take a risk and call for a snap poll. She chose the poll, and the gamble paid off. Sanae Takaichi is Japan's first ever woman prime minister. She is an ultra-conservative, a self-declared iron lady in the making, and a loud admirer of Margaret Thatcher. Her political mentor was Shinzo Abe, the late prime minister who reshaped modern Japan. But Takaichi was not born into a political dynasty. Her mother was a police officer. Her father worked at a car company. Takaichi worked her way up. And reports say she worked very hard. Apparently, she sleeps for just 2 to 4 hours a day. She calls herself workaholic, whose life motto is simple: work, 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 and work. And there's a side to her that still surprises Japan. Back in college, Sanae Takaichi played drums in a heavy metal band. That talent came in handy last month when Takaichi jammed to K-pop alongside South Korea's president. She's a hawk on defense, she's tough on economic security, strict on immigration, and unapologetically hardline on China. And all of this has turned her into a pop phenomenon. It is strange because Japan is not known for personality politics. Sanae Takaichi has changed that. Her X account has more than 2.6 million followers. Her handbag brand is sold out. Her favorite snacks have gone viral. Even the pink pen she uses in parliament has become a talking point. Japan's young voters are usually distant from politics, but they're watching Prime Minister Takaichi's clips. Her supporters say that she feels different. They say it's the kind of leadership that Japan has not seen in years.
Takaichi has a slightly different vibe compared to what we have seen so far in the political scene, so I'm feeling somewhat hopeful. That's why I voted.
Well, she's the first female prime minister, so a lot of young people like myself are curious about what kind of apparel she uses, and I saw a lot of posts going viral about it, so, I think it would be nice if I could use the same things as her, so I was curious about it and looked it up.
Now let's talk policy. Takaichi promised to suspend the 8% sales tax on food. This was to help families crushed by rising prices. The voters loved it, the markets did not. Japan already carries a heavy debt burden, the heaviest among advanced economies. In Japan, debt is more than twice the size of the GDP, so suspending tax will only add to the burden. But Takaichi insists that her approach is responsible. And then there is the China question. Within weeks of taking office, Takaichi took on China. She was asked a question in Parliament. What would Japan do if China attacked Taiwan? What would Japan do if China attacked Taiwan? Takaichi said Japan would respond militarily. No leader in Tokyo before her had said it in so many words. She did, and it triggered China. Beijing retaliated with export restrictions, and relations plunged to an all-time low. But it boosted Takaichi's popularity at home, and now she's won a landslide. I guess that is Japan's message for Beijing. Sane Takaichi is not going anywhere. But her latest statement may have eased some tension. After winning, she said she is open to dialogue with China.
Given that there are concerns and issues between Japan and China, communication is all the more important. Japan remains open to various forms of dialogue with China. At present as well, communication is taking place at various levels.
And then there's Washington. Takaichi has a cheerleader in Donald Trump. The US president has endorsed her. And Takaichi, like her mentor Shinzo Abe, is courting him too. She has made it clear that the US alliance is not optional. She has called it unshakable.
Regarding my upcoming meeting with President Trump, we will reaffirm the unshakable unity between Japan and the United States and further advance Japan-US cooperation across a wide range of fields, including diplomacy, the economy, and security. We will open a new chapter in the history of the Japan-US alliance. We will proceed with thorough preparations so that the meeting will be a meaningful one.
So what does this landslide actually mean? It means that Sane Takaichi now has political space to act boldly. She can push defense reforms. She can reshape Japan's economic playbook. But she must remember that expectations are sky high and challenges are many. Inflation, debt, China. Japan's prime minister has a lot on her plate. So she must hit the ground running because personality cults fade quickly if results do not follow. Now let's talk about the AI world. It's a clash of the titans, OpenAI versus Anthropic. OpenAI is the company behind ChatGPT. Anthropic is making waves with its new Claude platform. They are two of the world's most powerful AI companies today, and they are going head to head. Why does it matter to us? Because this battle could dictate the future of India's tech industry. These companies are no longer building chatbots, OpenAI and Anthropic. They are building tools which can replace entire tech teams. We've been telling you about it on the show. Last week, India's IT stocks tanked because of these breakthroughs. And now the race between OpenAI and Anthropic is heating up. It is hitting the airwaves in America. Anthropic has launched a series of ads, 4 ads in total. All of them target OpenAI and its platform ChatGPT. You see, OpenAI is set to introduce ads to ChatGPT, and Anthropic took a dig at them without naming anyone. They said, ads are coming to AI, but not to Claude. The subtext is clear. ChatGPT will have ads, Claude will not. It was a direct attack, and it landed. OpenAI CEO Sam Altman felt the need to respond. He issued a statement on social media. He called Anthropic's ads so clearly dishonest. And he defended OpenAI's decision to host ads. He said ads will make ChatGPT more accessible. Well, the ad policy has not kicked in yet, but OpenAI says it will not impact user experience. It will not influence how ChatGPT handles your queries. And then OpenAI has launched its own ad. It is not as provocative as Anthropic. This ad encourages ChatGPT users to build their dream projects. Basically, this is a showdown, and this showdown has serious implications. Two AI giants are competing for mind space. They're trying to sell powerful products to the same consumers. 4 days ago, OpenAI launched Codex. This is an AI-powered coding assistant. It is built inside ChatGPT. Codex can help software developers. They can dictate an idea to the app, and the app can write code for it. It's almost as skilled as a human programmer. Basically, Codex is OpenAI's answer to Claude Code. Claude Code was launched by Anthropic in December last year. It can supercharge programmers. Basically, they can deploy an army of coding agents who can then build software. Both these tools can build apps from scratch. They're far more powerful than the older chatbots. The chatbots you and I use can answer your questions, they can do some research for you, and then some. But these new tools, Claude Code and Codex, can perform complex tasks with a series of steps involved and with minimum human intervention. Think of them as virtual assistants. They can actually execute tasks. The technology is revolutionary, but it also poses a threat to India's technology sector. Last week, tech stocks lost over $22 billion in India, and even today, they were under pressure. India's Nifty IT index rose by just 0.02% today. It was basically flat. This is an index of India's top 10 IT companies. Today, it barely moved. That's because India's tech industry is staring at an existential challenge. The latest AI can do a lot of their jobs, like reviewing contracts for clients, processing data and compliance, handling routine coding and the testing of apps. Indian companies like TCS, Infosys, Wipro, they used to do all of this work for the world. But now bots can do the same. So top companies are trying to ring-fence their businesses, especially TCS, Tata Consultancy Services. It is India's biggest IT company. It is run by Tata Sons, the promoter of the Tata Group. Tata Sons, you could say, is the parent company of TCS. And the chairman of Tata Sons is N. Chandrasekaran. He recently addressed more than 700 TCS employees, and he stressed on the need for continuous upskilling to prepare for the impact of AI. This is a telling statement. Of course, it's not just TCS that is bracing for impact. You also have Infosys and Wipro. They're striking partnerships in the AI space. They're making new investments. But let's be honest, they're all playing catch-up. India's tech industry is at a crossroads, and they will be watching the OpenAI Anthropic battle closely because the outcome is tied to their future. And staying on the topic of artificial intelligence, India is now making a big push to build its own AI systems. A startup has just unveiled new homegrown AI tools. The company is called Sarvam AI. This company has developed 2 new platforms, and the goal is to build AI in India for Indian needs. You see, for years, India has relied heavily on global artificial intelligence platforms, tools like ChatGPT, Gemini, and Claude. But many of these systems are not built for India's linguistic diversity. Sarvam says its models can help bridge that gap. And it comes at a time when the government is investing heavily in developing India's AI capabilities. So what exactly has Sarvam built, and how does it compare with other platforms? Here's a report.
India is stepping into the global artificial intelligence race with a bold new goal. It no longer wants to just use AI. It wants to build its own models at home. Why? Because most global AI systems were not designed specifically for India's needs. They often struggle with the country's linguistic diversity and complex paper records. A Bengaluru-based startup called Sarvam AI is trying to change that. The company has just launched 2 tools aimed at filling that gap. One focuses on reading complex documents, the other generates natural speech in Indian languages. Together, they form part of what India calls a sovereign AI effort. The idea is simple: build artificial intelligence in India for Indian needs and stop relying on foreign systems.
The advantages of setting up sovereign AI cannot be overstated. Today, we face a digital asymmetry. We are exporting data and importing tokens. When our data flows outward, it trains foreign models and the learning loops compound elsewhere, leaving us with tokens but no leverage.
So what has Sarvam actually built? Let's take a closer look. Its first tool is called Sarvam Vision. It focuses on something known as OCR or optical character recognition. In simple terms, it helps computers read, not just typed text, but scanned pages, photos, forms, and messy documents. That may sound basic, but in a country where government files still sit on paper, that's critical. On one OCR benchmark, it scored 84.3% accuracy. That's higher than Google's Gemini on that specific test. These tests focus on practical tasks. They are not tests of general intelligence. Rather, they measure document understanding. And in that narrow but important space, Sarvam says it can compete with larger global models like Gemini and OpenAI's ChatGPT. Not across everything, but in this specific job, it holds its own. Sarvam AI's second tool is called Bulbul. It gives artificial intelligence a voice. Bulbul is a text-to-speech model. It turns written text into natural spoken audio. Right now, it supports more than 35 voices across 11 Indian languages. But the company plans to expand that to 22 languages. That matters in everyday life. From customer service calls to government helplines, if AI can speak in local languages, more people can use it. Put this together, and these tools reflect a broader shift. India is trying to build its own AI stack, and Sarvam is not alone in it. Companies like Hugging Face India Labs, Niramai, and Sigthupal are also developing AI tools across tech, healthcare, and finance. The government has put tens of thousands of crore rupees behind this push. Union Minister Ashwini Vaishnav says India's sovereign AI strategy is beginning to deliver results.
Even the most critical reviewers are praising the technologically advanced model released by Sarvam as a part of our AI mission.
But let's be clear, these aren't replacements for ChatGPT or Google's models. They're just filling gaps those systems are unable to fulfill. For a country with dozens of languages and vast paper archives, that's what matters. The global AI race is still dominated by the big players. But India has made it clear it is no longer only a consumer of artificial intelligence. It is beginning to carve out its own path.
This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
From Kerala this time, Samastha, a prominent Muslim scholarly body, has now passed a resolution asking for vigilance against pan-Islamist extremist ideologies and organizations following Maududist ideology. These are organizations like the Jamaat-e-Islami. This comes even as opposition leader V.D. Satheesan said that the Congress-led UDF will accept the support of Jamaat-e-Islami for upcoming assembly elections. Satheesan had said that they do not now have a stand of forming any Islamic republic. But remember, the Congress party has been facing flack as far as being soft on organizations like the Jamaat-e-Islami is concerned, but also either, if not actively, then passively seeking and taking support of organizations like the Jamaat-e-Islami. So you've got another Muslim body in the state now opposing bodies like the Jamaat-e-Islami. They feel Islamist and extremist ideologies They feel these are pan-Islamist, extremist, ideology-based organizations. So what's really going on? Is there a battle going on between various forms of Muslim thinking in Kerala? How will that shape the upcoming elections is a big question. Let's go across to my colleague Neetu first up. Neetu, what is this body exactly and why are they raising objections to Jamaat-e-Islami? Why do they consider them extremist, for example?
Now, see, Samasta is a Muslim scholarly body. Samasta Jamiyat Ulma is what they are known as. It's a Muslim scholarly body. It's mostly the Sunni faction, and they are politically they are seen more closer to the Indian Union Muslim League, at least one faction of this. So they have been against the Jamaat-e-Islami and their thoughts, and in this resolution also clearly stating, though they are not taking the name of Jamaat-e-Islami, they are clearly saying Maududist ideologies, which means the Jamaat-e-Islami, and clearly stating that certain factions are trying to create this extremist ideology, trying to take the Muslim youth from the mainstream and put into this extreme ideology. So this is something that cannot be accepted. And politically, how it's important is that it comes within days after leader of opposition of Kerala, V.D. Satishan, said that Jamaat-e-Islami's Amir has clearly said that they no longer stand for their demand of having an Islamist nation in a pluralistic society like India and Kerala. So that is, they will accept the support of Jamaat-e-Islami in this elections also if they offer, because this is what their stand is. So this resolution by the Samasta coming in a few days after that, definitely putting the UDF as well as the Congress in the defensive, because Indian Union Muslim League is an ally of the UDF. And when asked this question to P.K. Kunyalikutty on Samasta's resolution, Kunyalikutty clearly not giving a direct answer, but saying that these are different ideologies and both the sections have been talking about their ideologies. So that is something which the Samasta has done. And he goes on to attack the LDF, saying that earlier you all had taken support from Jamaat-e-Islami and you cannot attack the UDF on that. So this is where politically it stands, and ahead of elections all this becomes important, because be it the Samasta or the Jamaat-e-Islami or the other factions, they will all have a say at least in the run-up to the elections when the campaigns are being run, because they can direct the way in which the issues are being discussed ahead of the elections.
So will this push the UDF, the Congress-led UDF, into some sort of a rethink, Neetu?
See, all these factions are important, whether it's Samasta or the other factions. As we have said, a faction of that clearly supports the Indian Union Muslim League. So for them, it becomes difficult to openly say, but at the same time, the stand that the Congress and the UDF will take is that we are accepting anyone's support. We are not in any kind of alliance with the Jamaat-e-Islami or anything, but ahead of last elections, they had offered their support for the Congress and the UDF, and if that is what they are offering this time also, we will be accepting. But talks in these lines will be more.
Let's turn to Bangladesh now, where the election countdown is on. The country will turn out to vote on the 12th of February. It promises to be their most consequential election in decades. Also the first since Sheikh Hasina's ouster. Today was effectively the last day of campaigning. Technically, you can campaign till 7:30 tomorrow morning, 7:30 a.m. tomorrow. But today was the last full day of campaigning. You have two political blocs in the fray. One is the Bangladesh Nationalist Party, or the BNP. The other is the Islamist coalition led by the Jamaat-e-Islami. Both these factions held rival rallies in Dhaka today. Thousands turned up to hear the final speeches and promises. For the BNP, Tariq Rahman closed out campaigning. He is the son of former Prime Minister Khalida Zia. He returned from 17 years in exile. He came back to Bangladesh in December last year. Rahman has linked this election to nation building.
This election must be a nation-building election. This election must be an election to change the destiny of the people of Bangladesh, dear brothers and sisters.
Now let's look at the other side. There are two key faces. The first is the Jamaat chief, Shafiqur Rahman. The other is the head of the National Citizen Party, or the NCP. Now, the NCP is a students' party. It was formed by the groups that ousted Sheikh Hasina in 2024. Back then, they talked about democracy and liberalism, but last year, they aligned with the Jamaat, the same Jamaat that supported Pakistan's genocide in 1971. The same Jamaat that has not fielded a single woman candidate in this election. I guess this is the freedom that these students wanted. In public, the Jamaat is trying to rally the people. They want to be seen as a unifying force.
We 11 parties have come together with the dream of building a new Bangladesh, a dream cherished by the country's people. Our unity is against extortionists, the corrupt, those who abuse cases, and the architects of all forms of criminal activity.
We stand for justice, against corruption, for reform, against authoritarianism. Inshallah, we will establish a new Bangladesh.
Now the million-dollar question. Who is winning? Well, here's what the opinion polls show. The BNP is projected to get 34.7% of the votes and the Jamaat 33.6%. So as things stand, the BNP has a narrow edge and the Jamaat knows this. In December last year, their chief proposed a radical idea. The Jamaat chief, he had an idea. He said the BNP and the Jamaat should form a unity government. That way, the Jamaat could have a hold on power. Back then, the BNP was silent on the idea, but now Tariq Rahman has firmly rejected it.
How can I form a government with the political opponent, then who will be in the opposition? A government needs an opposition to balance the whole thing, needs a good opposition. I think, I don't know what will be their seat number, but if they are in the opposition, I hope to have them as a good opposition.
Well, the offer to form a unity government is not unprecedented. The BNP and Jamaat, in fact, were allies for 20 years, from 2001 to 2025. But now the equations have changed. Sheikh Hasina's Awami League is not in the picture. Her party has been banned from contesting the election, so the BNP is trying to fill that vacuum. They want to win over the centrist Bangladeshi voter. The question is, will they succeed? The result of this election will depend on three factors. Number one, the street violence. Radical Islamists are trying to derail the vote. Look at what happened over the weekend. Dozens of them hit the streets in protest. They blocked key roads and lit bonfires in public. Most of these people are supporters of Osman Hadi. He was a radical Bangladeshi student leader. He was shot dead by gunmen in Dhaka last year, in December. Now, if these protests continue, it's worrying because this is a perfect cover for rigging and disruption. The second factor is the youth vote. Voters under 30 years of age make up 25% of the electorate. 1/4 of the electorate is less than 30 years of age. And this vote is split down the middle. Radical students support their party's alliance with the Jamaat, but a lot of them have also condemned this move. Let's see if that anger translates into votes. And that brings us to the final factor. That is Sheikh Hasina. She may not be on the ballot, her party may not be contesting, but her voters and supporters have not disappeared from Bangladesh. Experts say Awami backers make up 10 to 25% of all voters. And this is not unthinkable. Look at the results of the 2008 election. The Awami League secured 35 million votes. 35 million out of a total of 80 million. That's around 43% of all votes cast. Over time, some of those supporters have left. Still, 10 to 25% is a reasonable assumption. So which way will these voters lean? A recent poll found that almost half of them are going to the BNP. If true, that will be crucial when the results come. Like I said, this is the most consequential election in recent history. It's not just about crafting policies or electing leaders, it's about deciding the future of Bangladesh. What sort of state will it be? A liberal, secular and thriving democracy, or a radical and closed society? That's what's at stake on Thursday. Imagine you go to a fair, you don't even get on a ride, yet the ride collapses and you end up dying. Or say you're riding a bike home from work, you're wearing a helmet, you're following the rules, yet you fall into a pit and die. In the rare case that you survive the fall, say you call for help, the rescue team reaches, but they fail to save you and you die anyway. Or you go to celebrate your favorite cricket team. There's a huge crowd. Suddenly a stampede takes your life. Maybe going out is risky, so you stay at home, except the toxic air is killing you slowly and silently. And these may sound like stark, extreme stories, like I'm describing some dystopian scenarios. But they're not dystopian. They are our reality. All of these things are happening in India every day, and it has left us asking a very uncomfortable question. What really is the value of human life in India? Let's start with the Suraj Kund Mela in Faridabad. This is close to the country's capital. On Saturday evening, a giant swing in this fair snapped midair. At first, it tilted, then it cracked, and finally it collapsed. "14 people were injured, 1 man was killed, and this man was not even on the ride. He was an inspector who saw the ride tilting and rushed to save the people. In the process, he lost his own life." Let that sink in. This is a police inspector with 36 years of service. He was weeks away from retirement and killed by a malfunctioning joyride. And this was not even the worst part. Do you know what was? This tragedy did not come as a shock, because we have heard this story before, the story of negligence and apathy. In Delhi's Janakpuri, a 25-year-old banker named Kamal rode home late at night. He had his helmet on, he had protective gear, he was doing everything right, but there was a pit in the middle of the road. It was unmarked and poorly barricaded. Kamal fell inside and lay there for hours. By the time his family found him, he was dead. Then there's Yuvraj Mehta, a 27-year-old IT professional driving home through fog in Noida. His car fell into a water-filled construction pit. He did not know how to swim, so he climbed onto his car roof and called his father. For nearly 2 hours, Yuvraj shouted for help. The rescue teams reached there, but they could not save him. 5 hours later, his body was recovered. And then we have stampedes. In Bengaluru, 11 people died outside a cricket stadium. At a railway station in Delhi, 18 people were crushed to death. Every day there's a headline of some stampede or the other, and every time the script is the same. No one expected this crowd. It was an unfortunate incident. But here's the truth. In a country of 1.4 billion people, crowds are not unexpected. Negligence is. Take any state and you'll find the same story. And after every tragedy, you'll find the same sorry response: compensation, suspension, inquiry, until the next tragedy strikes. And some deaths do not even make the headlines. In Delhi alone, 1 in every 7 deaths is linked to air pollution. That's nearly 17,000 people in 1 year. We complain, we cough, we move on. And if you cannot breathe properly, you definitely cannot step onto the roads without fear. In 2023, 172,000 people died on Indian roads. That's nearly 1 death every 3 minutes. So we ask tonight, where does this end? If we want to be a $30 trillion economy by 2047, if we want to be a global superpower, then human life cannot be this cheap. Right now, our systems assume that people will adjust, people will manage and survive until they don't. And then what do? We normalize death and we move on. And that is the real crisis here. Where is the accountability? Why are safety audits done on paper but not on the ground? Why does outrage have an expiry date? And why do we accept that dying on the road, at a fair, at a station, at work is all just part of life? India is growing into a global powerhouse, but development without dignity and growth without safety will not be progress. And until every life counts, India's biggest growth story will remain unfinished.
Hello and welcome to the late night edition with me, Ayushman Singh Jam. Well, big breaking news coming in. As expected, Pakistan does a U-turn on the boycott. Now, Pakistan will play against India on February 15th in the T20 World Cup in Sri Lanka, in the city of Colombo. The Sri Lankan president and the Bangladesh Cricket Board made the special request for this match, and now Pakistan has relented and it will play against India on the 15th of February is what we are learning. It was all written on the wall, ladies and gentlemen, when it comes to Pakistan's eventual capitulation to the international pressure when it comes to this clash with India on the 15th of February in the T20 World Cup in Colombo. All the experts were saying that there would be no choice for Pakistan but to relent and play against India. And Pakistan on its side has said, after the request which came in from Bangladesh and the Sri Lankan president who called Pakistan Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif, now Pakistan will play India on the 15th of February in Colombo. I'm joined by my colleague Anand Narasimhan on the broadcast. So Anand, as expected, Pakistan complying with just days to go for the match? We'll try to reconnect with Anand over there, but this is the big news that's coming in. Everyone was saying that Pakistan will relent given the international pressure, given the fact that it had taken this political stand over boycotting the match against India on the 15th of February. But clearly, after the special request has come in from the Sri Lankan president who called up Pakistan Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif, as well as the Bangladesh Cricket Board. Remember, in solidarity with Bangladesh, Pakistan had decided to boycott the match against India, and now what we are learning is that Pakistan will play against India on February 15th in Colombo when it comes to the T20 World Cup clash. Now, Pakistan has dropped this boycott given the pressure it is facing from around the globe, primarily the cricket fraternity. And now, as we can see, Pakistan's T20 U-turn has taken place, where Pakistan will play against India on February 15th in Colombo. I'm joined by my colleague Shivani Gupta on the broadcast. So Shivani, clearly we expected this, that this was bound to happen. Pakistan clearly putting up a brave face, saying that it is only doing so after the request came in from Sri Lanka and Bangladesh.
Yes, I mean, a space saver of sorts for Pakistan, because remember, it's none other their government and their prime minister who had announced that they're not going to play against India. None of the reasons that they quoted earlier for to not want to come out for that match against India have gone. But there has been a face saver provided to Pakistan by Bangladesh Cricket Board, whose chief has, of course, said that they not only visited Pakistan, but also has said that we requested them to play this match for the larger ecosystem of the sport. Now, that is exactly what the ICC was telling them. Pakistan was always aware of this, that, this is going to be, of course, problematic as far as hosting a World Cup or conducting a World Cup is concerned, or even their own prospects. But they went ahead and made this, announcement only to kind of corner ICC, and particularly as some sort of a political statement against the BCCI. The official announcement from the Pakistani government is yet to come, Ayushman, but we are learning through high-placed sources that now that this letter has been made public by the Bangladesh Cricket Board, Sri Lankan president had also requested Pakistan to not boycott this match. Remember, this match is happening in Colombo. There have also been pressures from the UAE Cricket Board, reminding Pakistan that they must think of the larger ecosystem and the associate members as well. And now Pakistan can obviously claim some sort of a higher moral ground that they will try to claim. That's keeping all of this in mind, we have decided to play. Particularly that letter with the Bangladesh Cricket Board is going to come as a fillip in, for them, because they had quote unquote, boycotted this match against India, primarily to show solidarity with the Bangladeshi cricket team and the Bangladesh board. For that board to now release a public statement that, we really stand for our friendship and may our brotherhood live long, but we want Pakistan to play so that the larger ecosystem is protected, is exactly the kind of face-saving headline that the Pakistan Cricket Board needed. But, there is, of course, not, you can't fool all the public all the time. So this is obviously something that everybody saw coming. This is none of the reasons why they boycotted the India match have changed. None of the situations has changed. Bangladesh still remains out of the World Cup. So what did Pakistan really achieve by playing all of this drama and really trying to hold world cricket to ransom? I think it's a larger question for world cricket.
Right. Shivani, please stay with us because we're getting a piece of breaking news from top sources inside the Pakistan government. Now, what we are learning is that the PCB chief Mohsin Naqvi has confirmed that Pakistan will play against India on Bangladesh's request. As Shivani was pointing out, this is being underlined from the Pakistan government that they boycotted the match for Bangladesh, and now the BCB has requested the Pakistan Cricket Board to play the match against India. And as Shivani was pointing out, it is for the cricket ecosystem of the world. So this face saver coming in from the Pakistani side saying it's only complying given the fact that the request came in from Bangladesh. I'm joined by my colleague Anand Narasimhan on the broadcast to decode this further. This is inputs brought to us by Investigations Editor Manoj Gupta. So Anand, the face saver coming in from the Pakistani side, we're only playing because Bangladesh asked us to.
We are being very charitable by calling it a face saver because on day one itself we had called the Pakistani bluff. We had said that even before just closer to the Bangladesh elections, Pakistan will have to do a U-turn and they will come back and play. This whole charade that's being drawn, you could see the political messaging that is happening. This entire classic East Pakistan narrative and brotherhood, etc. The same Bangladesh cricket board past. But this is just purely shift of the political equations and then trying to underline this. The fact of the matter is that Bangladesh Cricket Board has denied a chance for its players to show their ability and mettle on the world stage in the World T20 by pulling out of the tournament at the insistence and needling of the PCB and trying to whip up a frenzy ahead of the And now the Pakistan Cricket Board, because they are bankrupt, they have nowhere, and they found themselves in a pickle, they have tried to try and manage this entire narrative by getting the Sri Lankan president to call and also getting the Bangladesh Cricket Board to come back and fly down all the way from Dhaka all the way to Islamabad and then have this meeting, etc. and build this entire charade that, the entire region wants Pakistan to play. That's not the case. This is like Shivani was saying, just trying to fit the narrative and spin a tale where they come out with a face saver. But frankly, they have no face left and no respect left. Do you think the Sri Lankan Cricket Board will not be